hunting,
fishing,
cooking,
camping,
conservation,
travel,
gardening,
photography, family.
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 This is the Outdoor Rules Podcast. Can't believe I got up at like 4:45 in the morning for this.
I can. You're an idiot.
Thanks, Matt.
How do you know?
Already, he knows we started recording, so he's already not talking.
They're annoying things.
Yeah,
What?
really handy.
Live from the Studio East, it's Outdoor Rules.
I love
How's
it.
that?
Perfect.
Perfect, actually. Sounded great.
Except you're West, so I don't. You got to throw. Oh, now you got to have the audience applause in the background. Edit that in.
Yay!
I can't believe.
Can we do they
I
have
can't
one
believe
for like
dozens
the
of people listen to us.
can we dozens of people?
Ah,
Eventually, dozens of people may hear this broadcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Outdoor Rules podcast. This is Mike. I'm in the New Mexico studio, and just going to be the brothers today. Say hi, fellas.
Hello.
hello.
That was Mark first, and then Matt from the Outdoor Rules East studio. Poppy was going to join us today, but unfortunately he's not able to make it. So we're going to miss him, but we'll press on. What we want to do today is actually kind of talk about this period of time we just entered. I think I'm going to call this episode the in-between time, kind of the time in between when hunting season winds down and when we really start doing a lot more fishing. Obviously, if you've been listening, we've been doing lots of hunting related content, but we spend more of the year fishing than we do hunting, of course, because it's a much longer season and a much more diverse kind of thing. So we're going to get into that a little bit and talk a little bit, I think, about how our hunting season wrapped up. If you listened to the last episode, the Good Luck, Bad Luck, Who Knows, lucky number 13 episode, we'll kind of tie up some loose ends on that. So if you haven't listened to that one, actually, it wouldn't be the worst idea to go back and take a listen there. It'll make some things in this episode make sense. But yeah, pretty exciting, guys. We're up to 14 episodes with the release of this one.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been really fun to spend this time with you guys, and so many of our other family members and friends at this point, and we're nowhere near out of ideas. We just before this episode started, we were talking, Matt, I don't know how many different fishing ideas you laid out there, right?
Yeah, several.
So oh man.
Beautiful segue, Michael.
Yeah.
Beautiful segue.
He segued it right into me.
You ended it.
I fumbled.
No, but I think when we started this, it was a little bit like it was back in October or whatever. And there was kind of a feeling like, well, I don't know, maybe it's going to be hard to come up with an episode to do every week. If you've been following along, we've put out an episode basically every week on Tuesday mornings. And I think there was some concern that we'd just kind of like run out of stuff to talk about. And maybe that will happen eventually, but I feel like we're a long way from that right now. We actually still have a couple of episodes that I'm really excited about that we recorded back when our families were together for the holidays. Probably the one that I'm most excited about is kind of a bloopers episode. Matt, you want to talk about what we did there?
I guess you're talking about Unexpected landings.
Yeah, unscheduled landings, I think is what we're going to call it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a bunch of different stories about times when hunting or fishing pursuits didn't go as expected.
Right. So sometimes scary, sometimes funny. I think maybe generally a little bit of both in every case, right?
Yeah. Definitely a little bit of both.
So, some of them scarier and funnier than others, but that'll be a fun one. We also recorded an episode with our sister Kate about travel, so looking forward to sharing that one. And then I think what we're probably going to release next is one, or it might even be a two-parter about all the Grants. So we've mentioned before, but Grant is a family name, as a first name for our family, and Matt's son is Grant the fifth, right, Matt?
Yep.
It's G5. So we recorded an episode with Matt and Poppy and kind of went through some family history. So it'd be fun to get back to a little bit of family history and storytelling in the next couple episodes coming up. But we really do appreciate all the folks, the dozens of folks who have been listening to us, and we also wanted to mention in this episode that it's pretty easy to get a hold of us. We've talked about this before, but we do have an email account, outdoorrules@gmail.com. And, if you've been listening along and there's something you want to tell us, if you've got an idea for an episode that you think we should do, or, if you've got a story that you're burning to tell and you think you'd like to be a guest, reach out to us there. I mean, a lot of our listeners know us through other means, so reach out to us by any means, by any method, but anybody can get a hold of us there at outdoorrules@gmail.com. So, and we'd really love to hear from you. So as I mentioned, we kind of just wrapped up the end of deer season in Pennsylvania. Why don't you guys just cover that a little bit, kind of those Pennsylvania deer seasons, kind of go through them, where they start and how they progress and where they end.
So here in Pennsylvania, our archery season typically begins right around the first weekend of October. Sometimes it ends up, you get a couple of days in September, and sometimes you end up getting, it's a couple of days into October, but somewhere around there. And then that archery season goes basically until the week before Thanksgiving. Here as of late, it's actually gone the whole way up to the Friday before Thanksgiving. So they keep they've extended it later, which is great because we get more of the rut. In the middle of that, there is a 1 week muzzleloader season for the inline season. It's a doe only inline season. And there's also a week in there where you can hunt turkeys, bear, and deer at the same time.
All with a bow.
Well, you can hunt turkeys with a gun, with a shotgun.
Yes.
But so that's actually our favorite time to get up to our cabin, because it's kind of neat. You can get up there and you have a chance to shoot three different species of animal. And then our rifle season begins. Now it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and that runs for 3 full Saturdays.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. It ends on the third Saturday after that. And then as soon as Christmas is over on the 26th, we open up with a late season archery or flintlock muzzleloader season, a traditional season. And that runs now to basically MLK Day. So it's like three weeks and some change typically.
It used to be that flintlock season was like 2.5 weeks long, right, Matt?
Yes. I think it typically would open the day after Christmas, and then you would get 3 Saturdays and it closed.
Yeah. Right.
So,
and now instead of that, it goes all the way to Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, when we were younger, we always hoped that Christmas was on either Saturday or Sunday, because that actually gave us a much longer muzzleloader season.
Right.
Because if Christmas was on a Friday and the season opened on Saturday, then you really only got 3 Saturdays, so it's really only 2 weeks.
Right.
Now it goes to Martin Luther King Day, which is always a Monday.
Right. Which it's a nice long opportunity the way it is now.
Yeah, it was over 3 weeks this year for sure.
Right. Yeah, because we were still there. You know, we were hunting the early part of it when I was home at Christmas with the family, and now it feels like, I mean, it just ended Monday of this past week, which would be for when this episode gets released will basically be 2 weeks back. But that's a good long season and a lot of opportunity to get out. Overall, it was really quite a year for you guys deer hunting in Pennsylvania. I mean, of all the various places that we hunt, what's a kind of recap, Matt? You got one. You were first, right?
Yes, I shot a buck pretty early in archery season. I often tell people that I went and ruined a perfectly good hunting season by shooting a deer. I enjoy the tree stand time as much or more than I enjoy actually shooting a deer. And I would say that some of my most frustrating years of hunting have been years where I've killed deer early because I end up not spending as much time in a tree stand. Now, that's changed a little bit with some of the kids hunting, and I'll sit with them, or I'll sit with Mark or even
Right.
Rachel, and so I did hunt some more after that this year with Kaylee, although she killed a deer even, with a couple of weeks left in archery season this year too. So,
Right. So Kaylee got one. Rachel got one. We talked about that in the crossbow killer episode. Poppy had an opportunity at the wide 7-pointer that Rachel got, but that opportunity literally blew up in his face, kind of.
yep.
Which is a good episode to go back and listen to if you haven't heard that one. And then let's see who else. So that's you.
CJ got one.
Oh yeah, CJ got one. Right.
Her first buck. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. That was another episode that we did. And then
Hunter.
Yeah, last week on Good Luck, Bad Luck, Who Knows, we talked about Hunter's kind of incredible season. What was that, Mark? An hour and 57 minutes or something?
An hour and 57 minutes.
Yeah, I think what you guys missed in there was in that episode was the number of times Hunter called me from the tree stand pissed off about different things that happened to him before he shot a deer.
About the lady walking her dogs. And
About him running deer. He called me because he couldn't find a tree stand. Then he called me because he ran deer off as soon as he got in the woods. Then he called me because the tree stand was making noise. Then he called me because he was cold. Then he called me because there were dogs underneath of him. And then actually, when he shot, he called me and told me that he missed initially.
Yeah.
No, boy.
And I said, well, how close was it? And he told me like 14 or 15 yards. And I said to him, I don't think you missed. I think that the deer, I think you need to get down and check your arrow. I had a conversation with him while I was in a tree stand at least a half a dozen times.
Well, like sometimes, like we mentioned, you just can't do anything wrong. And that was Hunter's year for sure.
Yeah.
Also, the deer he ran off was a shooter buck. I don't think you mentioned that either. It could have been the buck he killed. It could have been another buck
Right.
Hunter has always had that lucky horseshoe.
Yeah, I mean, some people there's just some luck that some people have. It just
and those streaks can go cold too.
Yeah.
I've seen people that had great luck for a long time that then came back down to earth. So
my favorite part of that was I called Matt after that. And I'm like, Matt, did you know the deer went literally under Hunter? And you're like, no.
No, he never told me it walked between his stand and the ladder.
That is one of the best parts of that story. If for our listeners, if you haven't listened to Good Luck, Bad Luck, Who Knows, you really ought to go back and check it out, because it's the deer. What we're talking about is Hunter is in a ladder stand. So there's a ladder that sticks out like, 2 feet from the tree.
Yeah, it might be more like 4 or 5 feet with that stand, but still.
And anyway, and
as a person, you wouldn't want to walk there between the tree and the ladder if you could avoid it.
Right. And the buck that Hunter got walked between the tree and the ladder. So I think Hunter described it as being at 0 yards.
That's how I would describe it.
Yeah. And then it was, in some ways, it was a really interesting flintlock season. You guys saw a lot of deer, and I keep mentioning we were home for part of it, and Caitlin got excited about flintlock hunting this year, which was really fun to see. And in the Girls Rule episodes, Caitlin and Rachel and Kaylee hunted together a whole bunch and talked about that. Unfortunately, they never got the opportunity to drop the hammer on a deer. Although I think right after they recorded that, Mark and we went out. I think in the last episode, we were basically saying like, yeah, we're going out tomorrow morning. And we did that. And I thought I caught a glimpse of the big buck that we were talking about. We were seeing a really nice buck. And I thought I caught a glimpse of him. And then some deer came to me from where I thought I saw him, and it was a small buck and a couple of does. So I thought I had just fooled myself into thinking that was the big buck. I ended up trying to shoot a doe. I had her at 20 yards. Everything was absolutely perfect, except for the fact that I couldn't get the gun to go off. I dropped the hammer twice. I could see sparks both times come off of the frizzen. Powder was dry. Everything was good. I have no idea why that gun didn't fire.
It wasn't your time.
I think
Beautifully imperfect.
Beautifully imperfect, right? Because it's a flintlock muzzleloader, and that's just the way it goes. And then Matt and I hunted together a night or two while the girls were hunting in the blind. We hunted a box blind. And on the last night that we were there, that we had to hunt, that big buck came out with some does, and he was making his way towards us. The does ended up getting 60 or 70 yards broadside. I cocked the hammer. I thought it was going to happen. I thought he was going to follow him. And we don't really know what happened, right, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, the does got spooky for reasons I don't really understand, and essentially ran pretty hard.
But he didn't follow. Like, it didn't really booger him. It didn't mess him up. It just, those does that he was following ran, and then he kind of turned around and fed back away from us. And then at one point we had him right at about 100 yards, but it was getting dark, and I just couldn't line him up that I was comfortable trying to take that shot. And
yeah, I would say he was there a half an hour after the does left, at least.
Right.
Within 150 yards of us, just feeding, didn't really seem to care, didn't know we were there for sure.
Right. And then I did feel a little bit vindicated because Mark checked the trail camera and called me a couple days after we left to come back to New Mexico here and said, that big buck went past you at like 80 yards. I have him on the trail camera there. And it was while I was in the stand, and I was like, I knew it. I saw him. I'm now 100% confident that that's what it was, that I caught a glimpse of him. And for whatever reason, like big bucks do, instead of following those other deer that he was with that came right by me, he went a slightly different direction, and I never saw him again. So that would have really been a great opportunity for ultimate muzzleloader frustration, because that was when the gun wouldn't go off. So I might have gotten to not have a flintlock muzzleloader go off on the nicest buck I would have ever killed in Pennsylvania.
Is that where you end up throwing the thing like a javelin at him, just out of frustration?
I would have been so mad if I had that buck as close as I had that doe, and I couldn't get the gun to go off, I might have thrown myself out of the tree stand. But then, Mark, tell us about the rest of your season.
So I hunted the following Saturday, to which we all thought, well, I think the Friday before that, Dad was seeing quite a few deer. So, and I think he did see that buck in the field. So I hunted that Friday from that box blind where you guys were, and thought, we all kind of thought like, man, this is going to be good. We know he's around yet. He's been kind of working his way out that way, and it was cold and it was windy. I would say it was probably a sustained 25-mile-an-hour winds, and I saw no deer, nothing.
Not a one.
Not a one. And then I got home, and one of my cell cameras sent me a photo of him, less than probably 300 yards from where I was sitting in the woods, moving around with some does, but they're kind of protected from the wind where they were at. So I'm guessing that they were just hanging out there, staying out of that wind. Then,
overall, it was a really windy muzzleloader season there.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I will say, I read an article about the younger does coming into like a mini rut late in the season, and I think that was kind of confirmed, at least this year. It really seemed like there were a lot of bucks around, and they were, we'd see little bucks sparring and what looked to be chasing activity. I don't know what you guys think of that, but it sure seemed like that may have been what was going on. And I don't know if that's every year or this year was an outlier.
I don't really know much about the biology, ecology of that, but I guess I've always heard that maybe those younger deer that need to grow before they're able to drop a fawn, or does that don't get bred, second estrus kind of thing. Maybe that's what it is. I agree. I mean, it seemed like there were bucks around and interested in does, not like the real rut though, where it wasn't like bucks chasing does all over the field.
No, I agree. But I mean, you would see little bucks come out and push a doe around, get up behind her, push her around until she got annoyed and ran away from him. It's definitely interesting. I haven't hunted that season a ton. I mean, I would say we quit really going to camp in like 03, 04 for our muzzleloader season drives.
Shortly after Mike graduated college. So yeah, that's probably right.
Yep.
So after grad school, right, Mike?
Yeah,
you got your master's.
Probably more like 2005. I mean, because I would have still been home most years on Christmas.
Yeah.
So graduate school.
And then with work, I didn't hunt, and then I really I hunted, but I didn't hunt as hard, and I got really back into archery in I'd say 13, and most years I'm tug out. So this was the first year I really put a ton of time in, and then it's cold, so I'm like, I don't really need a doe. But it was nice to really get out there. It was, like you said, it was a really cold and windy season. So the following weekend, as we talked about in the Good Luck, Bad Luck episode, I got infusions for this autoimmune disease I'm going through currently. And Friday, the first day where I got my infusions, I wasn't feeling the best afterwards. So decided, you know what, I don't think I want to press my luck. So we stayed home, and Dad saw a bunch of deer that night. So Saturday, I kind of had an idea how I was going to feel. I felt much better after the infusion treatment, and decided, Rachel and I decided, you know what, let's get out there. So we went out, sat in that box blind again, and like 15 minutes to dark, we were seeing deer like crazy, but they were all working from the woods on the property we can hunt out to a neighboring farm. I mean, it was at one point, Rachel said in one binocular view, she could count 15 deer without moving her binoculars. So it was just a deer train. And then, like 15 minutes to dark, we had 4 work their way out to us across the field. And they got to about 30 yards, but they came in kind of on a bad side of the blind for me. So we're kind of in that like, all right, either we need to switch seats or I need to lean out of the blind. I tried leaning out of the right side of the blind. They're kind of hung up on the corner. And finally, Rachel said, "You're just going to have to sit on my lap." So as quiet as we could. And it was windy, so we had some cover for sound. Quiet as I could, I eked over and sat down on her lap and got my shooting sticks steady and took a shot. That gun went off perfect. Everything went off perfect. And you know, it's always tough when you shoot those things because the first thing you see is smoke. Like for 4 or 5 seconds, you can't see anything,
Right.
especially in that box blind. So, you know, you can't see if she buckled really because you're looking through smoke. And we have it on video. Looking back at the video, she kind of bunny hopped a little bit running away. She immediately spun, which you can't really see in the smoke. And then she bunny hopped and then took off running. The other deer that were with her, they ran away, but they didn't run the same. And I'm like, you know, I've seen enough deer. I'm like, God, that deer looked hit. Pretty sure I got her. And then I thought I heard her crash. So I got down. Rachel stayed in the blind. She said, okay, go to right here. This is where she was. So I went to there. No blood, fresh tracks. I'm like, well, this is the direction she went. Followed a set of tracks. No blood. I'm like, well, I know exactly where she went into the woods. So I kind of just worked my way over to the wood line. And by now it's getting pretty dark. No blood where I'm pretty sure she went into the woods. Looked around a little bit, couldn't see anything. So we went back. I went back to the blind. I said, we're just going to have to come back over here tomorrow morning. So we came back over the next morning and I said, all right, this is where we drove right to where she went into the woods. I said, this is where I saw her go into the woods. There's a blind. The blind actually a tree stand. The tree stand Kaylee shot her deer out of. I said, Rachel, why don't you climb up in the tree stand and we'll just work our way into the woods here slowly. And Rachel got into the tree stand and within 30 seconds, she's like, there she is. So, and I hit her perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect.
She, right in through she was quartering a little bit towards, I hit her right on the front left shoulder and it went in through everything. And, you know, where I heard her crash is where she crashed. But she did not bleed. There was no exit wound. And I guess it was just high enough that nothing could come out.
I think it's one of the challenges with a muzzleloader or anything that doesn't pass through is shooting at a pretty hard downward angle. So the entrance wound is pretty high up and then they just don't, you don't get blood on the ground, even though it was essentially a perfect shot. Did you recover that bullet?
No.
Yeah. Anyway.
Unfortunately, it went to the butcher. It went to the butcher because I was going through those infusion treatments and they really stressed like keeping those wounds from getting all bloody, and I didn't want to risk getting any infections or anything.
Yeah. Well, you're probably the first rural brother to shoot a deer from his wife's lap, so that's an accomplishment. And
yeah, that's something.
And that's your first flintlock deer, right?
That was finally.
Well,
my first flintlock deer.
Congratulations! I know it's not the big buck that we were hoping that you'd get, and you had definitely had a hard luck season. But happy for you that you got a flintlock deer. That's pretty awesome. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, Rachel left, and she's like, "I'm not sold on these. I just don't understand why you guys romanticize them so much." I'm like, well, I don't know. Something to our heritage and something about the challenge of it and something about it being a little bit out of your control. But yeah, I will say when it finally happened, like, my gosh, does it feel good?
Yeah, that's fun because it's hard.
Yes. I think it's, it teaches you a lot of life lessons.
I'll say. Mostly in frustration.
Yeah. How to deal with disappointment.
Right. So, Mark, you mentioned the thing you're going through. Are you okay talking about that a bit?
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, it's because I think I might keep getting it wrong. It's myasthenia gravis.
Yes. Myasthenia gravis.
I checked in. I actually got a random text from a good friend of mine from Montana. Mike Spinelli's his name. He's a physician in Bozeman. Great guy and a really wonderful doctor and an outdoorsman. But he sent me a random text and we started an exchange, and I told him about your case, and all he really said was, "Oh, myasthenia gravis. That's a really interesting diagnosis." So there you go, Mark. At least you're very medically interesting.
Yeah. It typically affects women my age and guys in their 50s and 60s. So it seems like I'm especially interesting.
Congratulations.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
we've always known you were special, Mark.
Yeah, this is not that kind of
They're finally proving it. You're proving it.
Yeah.
So MG can manifest in a bunch of different ways. Ptosis, which is like drooping eyelids, double vision, stacked. What I call it stacked vision. Like the nerves in my eyes aren't working correctly. So what I would get is two images of the same thing stacked on top of each other.
Oh, weird. That's what was happening?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
Does that
like
make me look taller?
You know what? I have
No.
Like one of those mirrors that
It just made you look twice as short.
Oh, damn it.
I have like never thought about this before, but I've always assumed when somebody's like, "Oh, double vision," it's two things next to each other because your eyes are next to each other. But
Right.
It has like never crossed my mind that it could be stacked on top of each other. That's weird.
So, in August, when I had my worst flare up, what got me to the hospital, and then the diagnosis was, I could actually see my left foot when I would walk fairly clearly. That's how bad my left eye was looking down. But it's a muscular issue. So a lot of people, it can affect their chest muscles for breathing. It can affect your biceps and your arms for lifting. It can affect your neck muscles for swallowing. So luckily, currently, it's mostly all ocular that I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So they put me on some medication that I've been on since August. That helps. And there's other things you can do to mitigate it. Stress is one of the big things for it. Been kind of messing around with some dietary things. In October, they did a CT scan of my chest to look at my thymus. And I guess your thymus shrinks in your teens, and some people end up with scarring tissue in there, gunk in there that can be the cause of these issues. So they recommend going in and taking your thymus out. I had an appointment with my doctor in December. She said, "Yeah, I think what I want to do is give you an IVIG treatment, which is to help take all the bad antibodies out. And then shortly after that, we're going to go in there and remove your thymus." So 2 weekends ago, now I did the IVIG treatment, which is when I shot the deer. And then I had one weekend where we were home. And then Tuesday of this past week, I went in and had surgery. They removed my thymus. So
it's which, by the way, Matt named Linus
the thymus.
That's right.
So, and that is, they go in, they had 3 incisions under my arm, and then a 4th incision down my rib cage on my right side for a chest tube. They go in, they deflate a lung because they need a space. They put some robot arms up in me, and they cut it out and stitch it up and get it out of there. And then I spent one night in a hospital and went back, and the next day they pulled a tube out, which was something.
Yeah.
Feels like they're pulling. Yeah, I mean, I could feel it coming out from
Ugh.
the top of my shoulder, basically on my right side, down through and out.
Yeah,
and then home, and then recover for anywhere between 2 to 6 weeks is what they say. So
it's a much more. I don't know why when they first told me you were having your thymus removed, I kind of figured it'd be like a laparoscopic sort of pretty straightforward. I mean, it seems like it can't be a huge organ because I didn't even know that it was in your chest before all this started for you. But it turns out it was a pretty major, pretty involved surgery.
yeah, the old way of doing it was they split your chest. So
Oh, really? They like had to open
yeah,
your
it's
sternum up?
right in behind your sternum.
Ugh.
So I'm thankful that it's this and not that. But yeah, it was. Originally when they're like, well, we're gonna, we'll talk about getting your thymus out. I was thinking, yeah, it's okay, whatever, not a big deal. But it was more when the surgeon said we're gonna deflate a lung. I was like, oh, that doesn't sound like it's gonna be super enjoyable.
No.
Well,
Well,
one of those things. It's just like, let's just not talk about it.
yeah,
How about this? You just do what you need to do and don't tell me what you're gonna do.
right. Well, good riddance to Linus the thymus.
Yeah.
That's right.
I hope that this helps you turn a corner with this and you go into remission and feel a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, it stops me from getting worse, or if I don't go into remission, at least maybe we've done something to stop me from getting worse. I guess would be the way to look at it.
Sure. Well, let's hope for better than that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of wrapped up some loose ends from the last episode, and obviously, Mark, we're all pulling for you. I know everybody listening is too.
I would
Go ahead.
I would just like to say, people I know who've listened to the podcast, and I have had some friends who I haven't talked to who've reached out. My family, of course, you guys, my church family. It's just been I've been so blessed with everyone who's reached out or lended a helping hand to us here. These last couple weeks have been a little tough on everybody, but I'm just grateful for everyone and you guys. So
We
Thank
all
you.
love you, man. We really do.
Definitely pulling for you.
And pulling for you that you feel well enough to get back to doing some of the things that we love to do in the season that's coming up. So, Mark, why don't you talk? I know you've mentioned it on the podcast before, but probably more than any of us now, you get excited about what's happening right now, which is what?
Oh man. Fishing. I love ice fishing. We love ice fishing.
Right. And when you say we, what do you mean?
Rachel, CJ, and I.
Oh, and me and Caitlin and the boys.
And you and Caitlin. Yeah, right. You
But-
and Caitlin,
but not,
not Matt.
Yeah,
Not
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
which makes Mark and I 3 times every ice fishing season talk about how it does not make any sense to us how much you love, and I mean love, all different kinds of fishing. But for some reason, ice fishing you won't do.
It's too static.
It's not that
I
static,
don't.
though.
I just don't believe that.
I need the ability to move. Like when the times that I've gone ice fishing, I've never been there that it was really any good. I think that's why I don't like it. I mean, Mark was all excited. He was just out ice fishing, actually.
So yeah, we did get an opportunity to go the Sunday between my treatments and my surgery. So we got to fish. We got to fish for 3 or 4 hours. It got really snowy. We had a pretty big snowstorm here, so the roads got bad. We didn't want to chance it. And Dad caught like a 2.5 or 3 pound bass, largemouth. And I mean, we We caught a lot of little sunfish. It was a blast.
Yeah, and that's the part of it. I can't get excited to catch sunnies.
Yeah, but it's not just that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Matt doesn't like ice fishing, but Mark and I do.
The thing that annoys me about it is, Mike, is a lot of times when I'm fishing and I can't find fish, I'm just like, if Matt was here, he would find them.
If we could just get Matt doing this, it would make all of us better.
Right.
I think that I just like to be contrary.
Well, yeah, that is certainly true. Which is a rule trait overall, but you've maybe gotten a healthier dose of it than the rest of us. And so there where you live, Mark, it's actually pretty rare to get fishable ice, right?
Yeah, I would say once every 5 years at home here, we get fishable ice where, you don't have to drive 2+ hours. So people always ask me, where do you go? And my answer is the shortest distance I have to drive to fish. So we have a lake here that the Game Commission owns it, right?
Yes.
Then a couple years ago, they drained it and did some dam repairs on it. When they refilled it, they put a lot of crappie in it. But there's almost too many crappie. We fish it in the early spring for crappies. We love to take the kids there because the crappie fishing's so insanely good. But you don't catch don't catch a fish over 4 or 5 inches very often.
Numbers wise, it's extremely good.
Yeah,
size wise, it's terrible.
When they had the lake drained, a lot of brush grew up. Right, it's real brushy, and so as it's come back, the crappies have really exploded, but they're probably stunted or on the small side.
Yeah, I would say
that may balance out with time too.
I mean, that being said, you'd still catch a big one every once in a while, but
yeah. But then most of your ice fishing is farther north. When we had Hunter on, we mentioned some lakes up north, and I know up around where he goes to college in Mansfield, and that's really where I started ice fishing. I didn't ice fish much, if ever, before college, and then I got into it up there because those lakes are good, and it's a long winter, and you're kind of there for college anyway. But you fish some of those occasionally, Mark, and then you fish some other lakes, right?
Yeah. So yeah, there's a handful of lakes up there we can fish. They ice over pretty early. There's a lake just north of State College, Pennsylvania, which is pretty much the center of the state. Bald Eagle State Park's there. Sayers Lake. It's an Army Corps lake, and the fishing is pretty excellent there when we get the ice to fish it. That's about 2 hours. Yeah, and then there's a couple. There's a lake around camp we've fished a couple times too. So when Rachel and I very first started dating, it was in the winter, and I hadn't really ice fished much since I ice fished with you when you were at school. Dad and I came up one time, and that's kind of when I fell in love with it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really get into it until I guess that would be 2015. So it's kind of like one of the first outdoor pursuits Rachel and I kind of did together. Mm-hmm. And since then we've just both been hooked on it. So,
and I think we're both kind of like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like the ultimate thing for me is to fish for big panfish. Like I'm big yellow perch are what I'm really the most passionate about ice fishing for, but I'll fish for anything because I enjoy it, but that's kind of what I'm hunting.
Yeah. I enjoy crappies and perch. And the perch on a tip up is like one of our favorite things to do, lining in a nice perch.
And here in New Mexico, surprisingly enough, we have a really fantastic perch lake, Eagle Nest Lake, up near the Colorado border in north central New Mexico or northeast New Mexico. Which has also got trout and it's got northern pike. We occasionally catch a big northern pike through the ice. Can be very, very good trout fishing. And then there's a few other trout lakes, not as many opportunities certainly as Pennsylvania or colder climates, but some really fantastic fishing, which was really surprising to me when I moved here because New Mexico is certainly not the kind of place that you think of for ice fishing.
No, I would assume not. It's also got walleye fishing, which I was surprised by.
Yes, we have very good walleye fishing here, and talk about that maybe in a minute. But
Is that on the lake you can ice fish?
no, there's no walleye in that lake.
Yeah.
Um,
That's one of my my dreams. We don't have most of Pennsylvania's lakes are stocked for walleye, and you guys will pick them up, but at least I should say the lakes I fish. I know if you go west, it's better, but we don't. We don't have many lakes that we can fish regularly for walleye. So I'd really like to get somewhere where I can walleye fish.
yeah, I fished a place in Montana that was close to where we live there, Daly Lake, and we would fish that thing in the summer for walleye and often have very good walleye fishing. And then we fished the heck out of it through the ice some years when it had good year class that had lots of perch in it. And I would fish with a camera. I never even saw a walleye in that lake. And it's a little lake, like a 20-foot deep bowl. I do not know where those things went. And so it's kind of on my list of things to do is to go somewhere sometime and really learn to fish walleyes through the ice.
You got to take Matt. He'll find them.
Even though walleye are one of those things Matt probably doesn't like fishing for.
No, I don't mind fishing for walleye.
No. So yeah, once kind of we get through the winter here and things start to warm up, then Matt's world really comes alive, right, Matt?
Yeah, I do quite a bit of bass fishing and crappie fishing.
Yeah.
I guess we should talk a little bit about, trout. Pennsylvania has its trout opener too. And I, as a kid, that was like the first day of rifle season.
Yeah.
You got super excited about the first day of trout season. And the older I get, the less I still go out sometimes the first day of trout, which is typically the middle of April. But I don't get quite as excited about it. And I think that's mostly because of the amount of people that are out.
Well, it was just a magical thing for us when we were kids, right? I mean, first of all, it was kind of, one of the first big formative deer camp experiences.
Yes, that was not just family in the summer.
Right. I mean, all the dads would take all the kids and the uncles, the old guys would go to a lot of them. And so you got to go to deer camp, with the uncles, with that older generation and with your parents or with your dad specifically. And it was boys and girls.
When you say uncles, for us, he's actually referring to great uncles.
Oh yeah. Right. Sorry. Yeah. I think we've mentioned before, but we call my dad's uncles the uncles because there were 6 brothers that survived into adulthood. And so it's kind of a big cadre of folks that were important to us particularly from a hunting standpoint, because most of them didn't really fish. It was only our grandpa that was a big fisherman out of the brothers, but they would still go to deer camp to spend time.
Yeah. It was a good time for sure.
Yeah.
And, and it was kind of like, it's a little bit unusual, and I think it's become more unusual, but Pennsylvania has this opening day of trout season where trout season's closed for a couple months. And the regulation structure has changed a bunch, and we don't need to get into that. But there was a time when it was more uniform, where there were not very many places where you could go out and trout fish while it was closed. And then Pennsylvania's got a long history and still has a big trout stocking program. And so they'd stock, all the waters would be like fully stocked, and nobody had been able to fish for the fish yet. And then it was even opened at a specific time. It was 8 a.m., right?
It still is 8 a.m.
So 8 a.m. on that first Saturday of trout season, everybody's standing there waiting and, to make that first cast. And as a kid, it's just like electric. I think the excitement around that.
Yes. As a kid, I was excited for it every year.
Yeah. I mean, I took my kids out last weekend to the only open water that I thought I could find where they could reasonably fish, and fishing for stock rainbow trout. And man, those kids had a blast. It was cold. It was windy. It was tough. And those kids just had a blast fishing for trout.
It's great getting kids out anywhere where they can catch fish.
Yeah. And seeing them excited about it, because kind of like that, the trout season in Pennsylvania, a lot of it's relatively small streams. Sometimes you can see the fish. Kids love to see those fish. So anyway, it's, I think, Matt, like you were saying, like it's something that I don't think any of us really seek out anymore, is that stock trout stream, fishing, particularly the first day when there's a whole lot of people around.
Yeah.
But I think, I think as a formative experience for us and as a formative experience for kids, is a way to get them involved and get them to care, and even from a conservation standpoint, getting them out there, showing them a resource, giving them a connection to it. It's just an important thing.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I would say that I still do trout fish a fair amount, but it's typically I'm waiting until a couple weeks into the season and I can go fish a stream almost by myself or with, one or several of my children, but not the crowds of people.
Right.
We really enjoy summer fishing at camp, trout fishing at camp in the summer.
Yeah. I mean, the trout fishing upstate around the cabin is exceptional. Almost all year, really.
Right. And I think what we're kind of doing today is, it almost feels like, not intentionally now, but it almost feels like we're setting these up as future episodes. I mean, Mark and I have talked about trying to do a from the ice episode for ice fishing, and we should just do an episode about trout fishing sometime, both east and west. But then, Matt, your big passion is for bass, right?
Yeah, I spend quite a bit of time in a boat bass fishing, mostly lake fishing. I occasionally get over to the Susquehanna River, but that's become less and less.
Yeah. And the way your spring starts with that is, do you do local stuff or you go south somewhere?
Well, I'll start bass fishing here as soon as there's not ice. Once the water's 35, 36 degrees, I can catch bass. It's slow.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to go out there and catch 50 fish in a day. But then I do have several trips planned. One of them is to a lake that's on the Virginia, North Carolina border. That's Lake Gaston. We typically go there middle of April. I also fish Raystown sometimes, which is Pennsylvania, middle of the state. That's typically late April to early May. And that's targeting smallmouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then we fish the 3 lakes that are up around Mansfield, which is Tioga, Hammond, and Cowanesque. That's usually middle of May.
And your Gaston trip and then the Cowanesque stuff and the northern Pennsylvania stuff, some of the other things you do, a lot of that you do with a guy that I met at college. Shout out to Bob Bridges. I know he's listening to these things, so we appreciate you, Bob.
He's one of the 12.
But you and Bob have kind of become a bass fishing duo, right? His in-laws or something have a place on Gaston.
Yeah, his in-laws have a house on the lake on Gaston, which is really nice. It's lakefront. His father-in-law even has a boat on a lift. We don't even have to drag a boat down there with us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have that opportunity every year. And Bob and I have really slowly started to learn that lake. We can, I will say that we catch a lot of spotted bass in the lake. The largemouth fishing has been tougher for us to learn, although we're slowly getting better at largemouths there also.
Yeah.
And we do catch some crappies. The biggest crappie I think I've ever seen, Bob caught, which was 2.5 pounds.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, came out of that lake, and he was fishing with bass tackle, and we weren't really. He wasn't. I think I couldn't even. I'm not sure I really got him to stop the crappie fish much. He. I don't think he realized at the time how big that crappie was. Like, he was not.
He's pretty focused on those bass.
Yeah, you can't. He's getting better with that, but you still have days where it's like you can't get him to change gears.
He'll ignore 20-pound stripers sometimes to.
Yeah, that's right. To go catch a 2-pound bass.
Right. And if you're not
as guys are different breeds.
They are. If you're not as familiar with bass, Matt mentioned spotted bass. We could do a whole episode because there's a bunch of things I haven't even talked to you guys about, new taxonomy with bass in the scientific community, but there's generally 3 common species of bass and what are considered the black basses, which are actually part of the sunfish family. But largemouth are the one that most people are most familiar with, probably the most widespread and sought after game fish in freshwater in North America. And they get the biggest and they have the biggest mouth. And then smallmouth bass are like the kind of brown colored ones. They have an obviously smaller mouth than a largemouth. And they don't get as big. And then there's a bass called a spotted bass. I think it looks a little more like a largemouth than a smallmouth, but it's kind of like an intermediate thing. Is that fair description?
I would say now, that's the first time I ever had the opportunity to fish for spotted bass. Is at Lake Gaston, and I don't know that I've caught them anywhere else actually. But yes, they're sort of in between. They almost look like a cross between a largemouth and a smallmouth.
Yeah, Dad and I caught them. We fished Dale Hollow one time, which is where the world record smallmouth came from. We caught them there, and we have them in a few lakes here in New Mexico as well. Over in the Pecos River system, the lakes there have them, so we catch a few here and there. But yeah, it sounds like maybe that, again, another episode idea would be have you and Bob get real nerdy about bass fishing there, which I know you could do. We'd probably have to. We'd have to have a moderator to cut you guys off at 4 hours or something.
Yeah, we could probably talk for days about bass fishing. Bob and I last year also, he's been fishing Canada for a long time in the fall. And last year, for the first time, I went up to fish with him. Well, that's not true. I fished there 2 other times with him, not at the same time of year. This past trip, though, I went up to fish. He fishes it's a small, very small tournament that we fished last fall together on a lake in Canada. And then I came home from that and I fished a tournament that was a little bigger with my son Hunter upstate at those 3 lakes around Mansfield.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun tournament thing that they do there around Mansfield is a couple times a year now, right? I think twice a year at least.
Yeah, that's right. They do it in June, essentially, as soon as the season opens, you can keep fish. So most of the spring when we're fishing for bass in May, April, May, even the beginning of June, you're allowed to fish for bass, but you are not allowed to keep bass.
Right. So you can't weigh them in for a tournament.
Yeah, so there's no way to tournament fish them.
But anyway, they have a tournament where they fish a different lake each day for 3 days: Tioga, Kawaneski, and Hammond.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're planning to do a little more tournament fishing this year, right?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, yes, I'm hoping to. It'll all depend on schedules.
Yeah. We have walleye lakes here in New Mexico, and that's kind of the spring fishing thing that I look forward to the most. Walleye are stocked into most of our lakes, although there is one naturally reproducing population, but it is probably, from a fishing standpoint, the most surprising thing to me when I moved here was just how good the walleye fishing can be here. We have very fast growing walleye populations because, well, not the populations, but the fish themselves. It's like we have these cool water reservoirs that are they're kind of just cool enough to have walleye, but they're warm enough that they grow really fast. So we get these big year classes of nice size, fish for the table, particularly really good eating fish. And they get that big really fast, just in about 2 years or less. They're already 14 or 15 inches. So that's our big spring fishing thing that we'll do here. And then, Mark, I wanted you to talk just a little bit about the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel stuff. And again, definitely something we could do a whole episode on, but I don't know, talk about that just for a minute.
Yeah, so I have a 23-foot center console, bay boat, ocean boat, really.
The poo line?
The poo line. It's a pro line.
It's a pro line with a missing R somewhere.
Missing the R on one side, so we dubbed the poo line. The boat's name is actually the Sassy Squid because we call CJ Squid, so, and she's sassy. So we thought that was a fitting boat name. But yeah, we try to get down there as much as we can. Typically, we get a whole week down there at least once a year, and then try to get back down. Mom and Dad go down. We try to get down for a couple of days in September. Their cobia opener down there is the middle of June. So Matt and I every year talk about trying to get down there for one of those as well. I mean, it's a great fishery. The stripers are there pretty much from Thanksgiving to middle of March, something like that. May.
And Mark, back up just a minute. Talk about where, like, lay the groundwork a little bit about where it is, what we're talking about.
Okay, yeah. So the closest town, clearly established town, is Cape Charles. It sits on the very end of the Delmarva Peninsula. So on the north side of the Delmarva, on the north side of the opening of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge is the tip of the Delmarva Peninsula. On the south side, you have Virginia Beach. So we are fishing on the north side, on the Cape Charles side of the opening of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, the Chesapeake Bay. The bridge crosses there that goes from the Delmarva 13, from the Delmarva down across to Virginia Beach. And we are basically, our favorite type of fishing is to drift or some type of fishing in and around the bridge itself or around the islands that were man-made where the tunnels go underwater.
So this is the very southern end of the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah, you are not sure sometimes if we get on a drift, working out,
on an outgoing
out of
tide
the bay, you're not sure where you are in the bay or where you're in the Atlantic.
Right. I think they use the bridge as the line between the bay and the ocean.
And we talked about this, I think, maybe in the second episode when I talked to Dad about 3 Mile Island. But the Susquehanna River, which is a real home water for us, is the main river that forms the Chesapeake Bay, just over the Pennsylvania line in Maryland, kind of at the Conowingo Dam, or immediately downstream of it. That's the head of the bay. And we're talking about a couple 100 miles south of that on the eastern shore, what they call the eastern shore of Virginia, like you're saying, Mark, on the Delmarva Peninsula at the very southern tip of it. Right. And then the bridge itself is like this modern engineering marvel because it's a bay bridge tunnel. So it leaves the peninsula as a bridge. It dives into a tunnel, which is to allow boat traffic to go over one way. It comes back up as a bridge again, another bridge span. Then it goes back under another tunnel before it finally comes back up again and hits the mainland there near Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Virginia.
Correct. It's a span of 18 miles, I believe.
I think over water might be 14.
And then they man-made 4 islands where the tunnels enter and exit.
Where it transitions from a bridge to a tunnel.
Where it transitions from bridge to tunnel.
Right.
So it's really cool, and it's basically created giant reefs, that hold fish, and it started. You got striped bass for most of the winter and early spring, and then the black drum come in, and then the cobia come in, and then all sorts of reef fish come in. What we like to target especially is triggerfish, spadefish, and sheep's head, flounder, of course, bluefish, mackerel, a couple different species of mackerel,
Red drum.
Red drum is huge fishery for red drum. Both types of sea trout. I mean, and you could go on croakers and all sorts of little stuff.
Right. And
Black sea bass.
what's kind of interesting to me, or one of the things I love about that place, is that it just seems like no 2 years are ever the same. Like, you can go out there with a plan like, oh, last year the spade fishing here was amazing, and now we figured stuff out and we're going to go target spade fish. And you go out there and you can't find them. But
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
but then there's always something else that emerges, I feel like.
Yeah. Essentially, every time you're there, you don't, and even from day to day, you have absolutely no idea what you're going to catch when you drop a bait to the bottom.
Right. Yeah, it's such a cool place.
It really is a cool place.
I mean, it's not a issue to catch fish there ever. It's an issue to catch the fish that you're hoping to
That you
catch.
told yourself you were going to catch?
Right, that's right. I mean, I've been there on days when you can't get away. Like, you literally cannot keep the bluefish off of your, baits. It doesn't matter what you throw.
Right.
Where the point where you're moving, like, okay, we're going to drive a mile down this way because I don't want to catch any more bluefish.
Right. Like, you can't drop a bait to the bottom or reel one back up without
Right.
hooking a bluefish by accident.
I had Hunter once. We were fishing at the high rise, which is there is a short bridge span where it's high enough for some boats to go under. And he was baiting. We were catching bluefish as soon as the bait hit the water. And he's putting bait on. I'm finally like, Hunter, what are you doing? He's like, well, I need the bait to catch bluefish. I'm like, no, you don't. Just drop your hook down there with nothing on it. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was catching 2 at a time
with bare hooks.
with bare hooks. That's how many bluefish there were.
And
But then the next time you go out there, you can't find a blue. A day later, you might not be able to find a bluefish.
And I remember that year they weren't, it's interesting too. 1 year you go down there and you catch, they were foot long. They weren't very big bluefish.
Mhm.
It wasn't like, now last year we were catching decent ones,
Yeah.
18 inch 2-footers.
Right. Our last trip down there didn't. It was a really great trip, and it was something kind of unusual. That was early August, right? Right at the beginning of August
Mhm.
last year. We the three of us and Poppy met up. Poppy picked me up in Baltimore. You guys left from home and hauled the boat down, and we had like 4 days of fishing planned, right? So it was just us, no family, just totally kind of like old days where you're 100% focused on fishing hard all day. And we fished like half a day, then a whole day, right? Where everything was good. And then the weather got kind of rough, but we ran out to a spot where we had caught a couple nice sheep's head. Oh, Hunter was with us too.
Yeah, we had Hunter.
And then
because he caught the big one that trip.
oh man,
Yeah.
caught one almost 10 pounds.
Turkey caught a 10-pounder.
That Mark is really kind of obsessed with sheep's head.
Yeah, they're my favorite thing to catch.
Which, if you don't know, we'll put a couple pictures of those up. But they call them convict fish there because they look like they have like the black and white bars, like a old timey prison suit. But anyway, 10 pounds is a really big one, and Hunter caught one that was scraping that size. It was an impressive fish.
We caught a lot in the 3, 4, 5 pound range the years before. I caught a 6-pounder, which was the boat record, and within like 2 minutes, he caught a 10-pounder.
Well, he's related to Matt.
Yeah, exactly.
Similarly annoying.
Was I operating the boat at that
I
point?
think so. Yeah.
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 Well, so anyway, how's the story end, Mark?
Oh, see, we got to see how Cito works.
Which Cito, if you don't know, is sort of a AAA for boats.
We had an unexpected boat failure.
Yeah.
So
Motor failure. The
Motor
boat
failure.
still.
Yeah,
the boat was floating.
boat was
Yeah.
floating.
The boat
didn't
performed fine. The motor did not.
We managed, in pretty big waves and a pretty strong tide, we managed not to get stuck against the bridge and dashed to pieces. So that was successful.
Yeah, that was always one of those things that you think about. Like, what are you going to do if the motor shuts off and you're being pushed into a piling? into Bridge Pillar, and we handled it pretty well, I think, as a group.
We really
worked
did.
as a team, but we could not get the motor to start after that. So what was really frustrating about that was we had a couple good days of sheep's head fishing. It was really rough, and we'd been fighting some boat traffic here and there the days before that, and it was rough getting out. I'm like, well, we'll see how long we can handle it. And when we got out there, it got kind of flat.
It laid down,
and there was nobody else out there, so we kind of had our pick of bridge pillars to fish off of, and I think we caught like 3 or 4 fish immediately.
Yeah, we sort of
better
felt.
fishing.
Yeah, the fishing was going to be real good that day.
And then the motor shut off. So
then there was the whole issue with the Ceto app. Remember that?
Yeah, I used the app, and we waited maybe 2 hours. They said
At least
they're getting to us, and then finally it was like, all right, what the heck's going on? So I called, and they're like, oh, I don't know what happened. Something happened with the app. We'll get somebody right out there. And then within an hour after I talked to them on the phone,
a very nice gentleman showed up and towed us back to the launch.
Yeah.
We were adrift for 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, we were adrift for a little while.
Yeah.
And it was hot.
It was hot.
And we couldn't catch, what did we catch? 1 shark in that amount of time?
Yeah, a shark.
Well, hopefully your next trip down there goes better.
I got to say, shout out to that Ceto captain, because him getting us back to that dock was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen.
Yeah, we were all kind of wondering on the way in how he was going to manage to shoot us into the very narrow boat launch, and the tide was running, and it I mean, we've all got a fair amount of experience on boats, but I still don't quite understand exactly how he did that, but he definitely made it look easy.
Also, I recommend Ceto for anybody who has a boat. It's well worth it. Well worth it.
Yeah. So by way of fishing season preview, the other thing that I wanted to talk about real quick was that Robert, my oldest son, started watching this guy on YouTube who has a channel called Outdoor Boys, and he has a couple of sons, I think 3 sons, and he kind of takes them all over the place fishing. And one of the places, because they had lived there for a time that they fish a lot, was in Alaska. And so they do quite a bit of halibut fishing. And Robert was watching this halibut fishing episode, and he wanted to show it to me. Robert's very into all of this stuff, fishing and hunting. At the end of the episode, you know how YouTube suggests other videos to watch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
I've never watched YouTube.
You've really never watched YouTube?
No.
Oh, man.
I got videos in my head.
Uh-huh. You got all kinds of things in your head that nobody ever needs to see.
Or hear.
Yeah. So anyway, YouTube recommends videos at the end, and one of the recommendations was for a halibut fishing in Norway video. And I was like, oh man, Robert, we should watch that. And he's like, yeah, he agreed. So we did. And I was just like, that would be so cool. They catch giant halibut in far northern Norway. And, of course I'm like, well, that's gotta be like ridiculously expensive. And so I looked up the place that this video was from, which is a place called Camp Halibut. And I started doing the math on the exchange rate between the dollar and the krona. And it was like, I cannot believe how affordable this is. Like, cheaper by far than going and spending a week at a lodge in Alaska. And so anyway, that was back in probably 2023. I started looking into this in the fall of 2023, and we've got a halibut fishing trip to Norway scheduled for late July of this year. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And Poppy's going to go. Caitlin's dad, Tim, is going to go. Some other family and friends. There's 8 of us going, and Robert's going to go with us, and it's going to be a epic adventure. I hope it's not like the last Mark's last experience with his boat. But
Well, just call Cito.
yeah, I'm in Norway.
Hey, I'm stuck in Norway.
No, it really looks like kind of a legit place, and they definitely catch a lot of big fish there. So they catch all kinds of stuff other than halibut too. They catch giant cod there, and they catch wolf eels. You guys ever seen those things?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to be amazing to eat.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. I read somewhere that they're supposed to taste like a cross between crab and halibut. So anyway, we'll be doing a couple Norway episodes, I have a feeling, along the way as that gets closer. But it's kind of the big thing for my fishing year this year.
Do you have any trips to Texas planned?
You know, what Mark's asking about is we've been fishing the Texas Gulf Coast near a little town called Port Mansfield, which is on the Laguna Madre and has all the inshore stuff, redfish and sea trout and black drum and a bunch of other stuff. And is also really close to really good red snapper fishing, not far off the coast in Texas state waters. So the regulations are pretty liberal, and you can fish red snapper most of the year and keep them there. But we had a March trip planned, but something else has come up. I actually think I probably have to come home for a thing at Mansfield University that week that we were planning on going, Mark. So you'll probably see me in March.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
But yeah, I mean, we're trying to replicate, because, I think for us, that saltwater fishing was such an important thing and something that we all loved when we were kids. So obviously here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, I'm a lot farther from an ocean than where you guys are. But we've been trying to get the boys out saltwater fishing at least once a year down there in Texas is kind of the closest place that's practical. But we just found out that some of our close friends from here are moving to New Orleans. And they're big outdoors folks. So we're kind of hoping they'll get set up in New Orleans and figure out fishing on Lake Pontchartrain and some of the other saltwater opportunities there. So maybe that'll be a new thing we'll get to do sometime in the next year or two.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. You guys got anything else you want to add to the fishing season preview?
I don't believe so. I think Matt and I mean, you and Poppy will be away. Matt and I are working on a trip down south, down to Cape Charles. So that's our only saltwater stuff that we're really planning for, other than spot trips here and there. So yeah, hopefully we can get that worked out.
Been a little tough for you, Mark, right? With your
it's been real tough to schedule anything just quite yet.
Right.
I've been off work some here, so
yeah,
as expected.
Right. Matt, you got anything else you're planning to do?
No, I don't know. Not really. I mean, I'll fish much as I can get out.
You'll just bass fish every second of every weekend that you possibly can.
Yeah, when Kaylee doesn't have soccer.
Everything that fits into the soccer and other stuff schedule.
Yeah, work comes third.
Which is like 2 spots above safety.
Yeah, that's right.
Safety fifth. All right. Well, yeah, I hope that for those of you listening that you'll join us. Like I said, I think we'll be talking a whole bunch about fishing as the year goes on. We're gonna keep making these things. I mean, it's really my hope over this year, over 2025, to more or less put out an episode every week, and I think we can do it. I got kind of a brief list of ideas going all the time. We're hoping the uncles that we were talking about earlier, some of them are still living, and we're really hoping that we can figure out how to get them on to talk about how they grew up in the outdoor tradition there. Some really interesting history that we've talked about a little bit on the podcast before, but there's a big iron mine there, and a lot of our family ended up involved in mining, and some of that took people kind of all over the world. But just like listening to those guys talk about how those mining operations worked and how dangerous it was, it's really interesting, and it's really cool local history. The farm that they grew up on is also only a couple miles from the original Michter's whiskey distillery, which Michter's was kind of a brand that was only known locally when we were kids, but now the brand has been bought by an outfit that's making whiskey again in Kentucky. So Michter's whiskey has become a thing again, and that would be a fun thing to talk to them about. Of course, turkey season's not too far away, so we'll be talking about turkey hunting coming up at some point. And just lots of other stuff. There's a ton of both local history and family stories and outdoor stuff that we're going to be doing. So I think that there's going to be lots more episodes to come of the Outdoor Rules podcast. So much so, we're so confident in that. What did you guys get in the mail this week?
Well, we got, on our end, we got stickers, decals, couple different variations.
Yep.
And what did you get in the mail, Matt?
T-shirts.
Yeah. So we got our first big batch of merch, right?
Yeah, great.
We have merch now.
Merch.
Matt, do you want to mention your T-shirt design, sticker design, or do you want that to be a surprise?
Well, I guess I could mention it. We actually don't have that T-shirt yet. We have the logo one, but we don't have the bass coming out of the volcano. Those T-shirts didn't arrive yet.
When we first started talking about getting some T-shirts or getting some outdoor rules
logo
stuff
design
made up,
it was
right?
way back at the beginning of logo design.
Matt said he wanted a bass jumping out of a volcano, which sounded completely ridiculous, only because it is completely ridiculous. But Hunter actually made that dream a reality. And it's right. It's actually kind of a funny design, and I do really like it. So there's going to be Outdoor Rules bass jumping out of a volcano T-shirts. we don't currently have like a merch store on the website or anything, but we'll get pictures of them up, both the stickers and the T-shirts. And if anybody that's listening is dying to have one, reach out to us somehow. But again, like I said at the beginning, you can always email us at outdoorrules@gmail.com and get a hold of us that way. We'd love to hear from you in general, but if you do want a T-shirt or a sticker, we'll definitely try to figure out how to make that happen. All right, you guys got any closing thoughts for this episode?
Yeah, it's just the selfless plug that you hate to say, but we really hope people, like, follow, and share, comment on the podcast, whether it's on Apple or on Spotify, or on Instagram. Just helps us know you're out there, know you're listening, keeps us going, and we do enjoy responding to them.
Yeah, for sure. And we recently learned that we don't always get notifications on comments like Spotify. So there again, if you've left us a comment and we haven't responded to it, it's only because it didn't let us know there was a comment there and we didn't see it. But
we did get a cool comment on Deer Heart to try it pickled. So we're kind of excited to give that a go.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember somebody at camp used to do that, but that would be a fun thing. And we're actually not sure who left us that comment, which is kind of actually nice. But, if you've got a recipe for pickled deer heart, we'd love to see it, and we'll try it and talk about it. All right. Well, Mark, I'm glad that your surgery went well and that you're recovering, and looking forward to a good fishing season, and proud of you for getting your first flintlock muzzleloader deer.
Yeah. Thank you. Goodbye, Linus.
Yeah, so long, Linus.
And good riddance.
You and Linus have parted ways.
All right, Matt. We'll keep up with your bass fishing adventures. We'll have to figure out how to get Bob on to talk about that.
I gotta get him ice fishing.
Yeah, Good
But
luck.
it's also because I need somebody to do all the work.
Yeah, that's true.
Lift 10 pounds for 6 weeks or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. You're going to catch, you think we're going to catch 10-pound fish?
No, but I can't carry the auger.
Oh.
Drill the
Yeah,
holes.
right.
If you were catching 10-pound bass, I'd be all over this.
Yep. All right. Well, I love you guys. Looking forward to the next episode.
I love you too.
Hunting and fishing, the great outdoors, mixing history, laughter, love, and folklore, creating memories with family and friends. These are the trophies that matter in the end. Outdoor rules,